welcome back to Blooms and Bicycles. As we now cycle into the early part of summertime, it's so exciting when we pedal past the peonies, which are now in their prime once again. With other summer flowers chosen for their complementing tones that harmonise perfectly with these perfume-filled flower cups, an eclectic mix of stems creates an overall summer burst in a multitude of bright, joyful colours, nodding to the abundances Mother Nature graces our lands with as we cycle through these warmer months. Today we'll be talking you through how to construct the Peony Perfumes Teapot letterbox flowers. Our flowers and vases are already prepared with both the water and the flower feed. However, if you would like to learn how to prepare your water vessel, you can find the link to our flower care video in the description box below. And next is to create the grid. We'll do this with the strongest stems, this being the dried cherry blossom branch, the eucalyptus, the Thlaspi, and the salal tips. So first we'll add the salal into the very centre and we'll cut it significantly down. This is because the salal has a number of offshoots which create a V shape and give it lots of bounce and volume once it's added to the vessel. So we'll just position that towards the front. Next we'll take our eucalyptus, which has a natural hook shape, so I think we'll position this around there. Then we'll add our cherry blossom stem and we'll position this towards the back. And then with our Thlaspi, we'll snip away each of the offshoots. Finally, this will leave the main stem, which we will trim down until there's only another 2 inches at the bottom. And that's because, like with the salal, the Thlaspi has its offshoots, which makes it quite bouncy, so to speak, because of the volume it gives. So the greenery really needs to be sat just at the opening of every water vessel if you're looking to use the Thlaspi to create the grid. So we'll take another couple of inches off each stem and we'll position those in the gaps created by the cross that we've constructed using the other branches. And with this final piece of Thlaspi, we'll add that into an upright position in the centre, and that should hold the rest of the flowers beautifully. And taking full advantage of these long sweeping heaven-scented blooms, this collection is designed to incorporate 3 different peony varieties. So next we'll take each of the peonies, every one being unique and slightly different in shape or colour. 2 of the peony varieties are in a softer pink colour, and the other one is in a deeper coral, which then blends into more of a peach the older it gets and the more it starts to open up. I think this is nice when you put these 3 together in a triangle formation and lean them off to one side, especially given the fact we have a hydrangea to add, which volume-wise can be used to counterbalance the peony's presence if positioned off to the right. So we just hold the stem roughly around the area of the teapot and start to visualise where we want it and how far in we want it to be. And that gives us then an idea of how much to snip off the bottom. So we just feed it into the grid until we find it in a place where we're happy. And this is where Thlaspi really starts to come into its own, because the Thlaspi creates so many small gaps, which are perfect for the size of stems to then fit in between. I absolutely love these peonies. As these peonies open up, they create a natural star formation. And actually, if it hasn't yet opened up to this stage, when you're putting the flowers together, you can actually just coax it into this shape by pulling back some of the outer petals. Being so spectacular, I think it'll be nice for that to be positioned right at the front, making it the star of the show. Then we'll take the final peony and we'll position this at a midpoint when in comparison to the other 2. So next, to create some balance on the opposing side, we'll take our hydrangea and place it around there. Again, holding the stem behind the teapot just starts to help you visualise where it needs to be. And we'll just position this to about there. So now we've started to create the mid-height part of the design. So now we'll next focus on the higher pieces and maybe some tumbling pieces to the front. So with these candle-shaped stems of the Gentiana, Matiola and the Aconitum, as you can see, the Matiola is much lighter in comparison to the other two. I therefore think it's quite nice to have this sat in the middle. With the teapot letterbox flowers, it's important to bear in mind that the flowers need to be cut relatively short, given the fact that the teapot sits quite low in comparison to other vases. Therefore, we'll take away a lot more than you would perhaps in another water vessel. Again, use the grid to your advantage and just keep trying to position it. And each of the candle stems are all at varying heights, which helps create different points of interest and helps the eye continually move throughout the design. So next we'll take the Nigella and the Astilbe, both being relative in density if you will. Because both don't have full petal flowers, they can be used to counterbalance each other quite nicely. So now there's a void which we can start to fill between the candle-shaped flowers at the back and the Peony and Hydrangea which leans towards the front. And this Nigella will be perfect for that. We'll work out again where we roughly want it to be and trim and just add it in. The more you add into the grid, the easier it is to find the position that you want. So now that we've added the Nigella, we can see that the void over here can be filled with the Astilbe. And we'll just thread that through until we're happy. Next, taking the Bouvardia, we'll use this to start creating more fullness on the opposing side to where the hydrangeas and the peonies now sit. So we'll just trim some off. Now we'll take our coral rose, which adds contrast in comparison to all of the other flowers that sit in the display, and therefore I think this will be very nice right in the centre in this void here. As we always say with these garden style designs, there is no right or wrong. It's just about making best use of every flower stem and its own unique individual characteristics, as well as personal preference. So just go for it. So now that we've positioned the Astilbe off to the left here, the rice flower will perfectly balance this out when positioned to the right. So we'll just thread it in to the grid as so. As you can see, it gets a lot easier to work with the grid the more flowers that are added. Naturally, some of the flower stems will begin to move as new ones are introduced. That's okay. You can either use the opportunity to add the extra flower stems into the new voids or just reposition them, whatever you prefer. In this case, I prefer to move the Matiola back into its central position. So thinking about contrast, I think the Amaranthus will add the most if positioned on this side, given the fact that it's very similar to the pink of the Bouvardia and the coral peony on the opposing side. And I think this looks beautiful when it's allowed to slope off to the side. And finally, we'll add our violet coloured sweet pea, just to add the finishing touch of lilac tones. And after one final once over, I think we're thereabouts. So there you have it, the Peony Perfumes Teapot Letterbox flowers. I hope you enjoy.